All is right in the world, as yesterday, the Miami Heat finally and officially gave Josh Christopher a two-way contract, unfortunately having to release Zion Pullen. Of course, I'm super happy for Josh. I don't want to get into it a ton because I have several Josh Christopher videos, so y'all could go check these out if you're interested. But I think it's a great fit for the Heat. He seems to be Heat culture personified, and obviously he balled out in the Summer League, so I'm very happy to have Josh here. But sort of unexpectedly, a lot of Heat Nation had the same reaction when they saw the news. Even if you go to the Heat's official tweet where they announced the signing, essentially all the comments were talking about one Dru Smith. Part of me feels bad for Dru because I'm sure he's a nice guy and he's getting a lot of hate that can't be easy for him. But the other part of me just wants to say how much he sucks at basketball. Okay, let me not say he sucks because I'm sure he would kick my ass, probably on and off the court. But I just really don't see him as an NBA player at this point, and I can't understand the Heat's infatuation with him. So the main question that everyone's asking is, how the hell is Dru Smith on a two-way contract still? I know even Barry Jackson had a tweet questioning this, and for Barry to come out there and wonder why the Heat made a signing like this, I think he said he was baffled. That's how you know it's a confusing signing. Because even if the Heat like Dru Smith, he's not healthy right now. He wasn't even healthy enough to play in Summer League, and as a Heat team that had all those injuries last year that they did, why would they want to rely on a guy who's just coming off a major knee surgery? So you just had this amazing Summer League where all these young kids balled out, but yet Dru Smith is still here. Why is that? Is it blackmail? It has to be blackmail. I don't know what he has. Maybe Dru Smith has the Heat's Krabby Patty formula and he's willing to leak it online. I don't know what it is. Nah, but in all seriousness, what I think the truth is that the Miami Heat just want to do Dru Smith a solid. Obviously, he had a very tragic injury pretty early in last season because of that bum-ass Cleveland Cavaliers court where they have some weird dip where the benches sit, and Dru Smith landed awkwardly flying out of bounds and ended up, tragically tearing his ACL. And, of course, we joke and have fun with Dru Smith. I don't know if he sees it that way if he's watching this video, but it's mostly just jokes for me because, obviously, I feel very, sad for him when that happened. At the time, just because it was such a freak accident. 1 second he's in the air, the next thing you know, he's falling into a hole. It's scary stuff. So obviously I felt very bad for him. He's a kid that's trying to work his way up in the league, and I wish him a speedy recovery, and I hope he does get to 100% soon. And I think the Heat feel bad for him too, and they probably like him as a person and as a player, so I think they still want to see him get paid. Now, of course, a lot of people watching this might say, well, as a front office, you're not supposed to care about personalities, you're not supposed to make decisions with your heart, and everyone that is saying that wants Isaiah Stevens to take his spot, rightfully so. Of course, that's the guy that I'm looking at to replace Dru Smith as well. But Isaiah Stevens is currently on an Exhibit 10 contract, which basically means that he's guaranteed to be here through training camp all the way up until October. And by Dru Smith remaining on a two-way contract, he basically continues getting paid until he gets cut. So I think the Heat are just giving him a solid by allowing him to recover, allowing him to be in the organization under contract, getting rehab. And come October, I do fully expect the Heat to cut Dru Smith and sign Isaiah Stevens to that two-way. Unless maybe the Heat actually value Dru Smith as a player and they view him as the future point guard that they just can't let go. Because trust me, some people do feel that way. I see your Dru Smith fandom. You guys are in my comments. You're very passionate. I respect that. So this is your time to shine. Enjoy this because I very likely will never have another Dru Smith video ever again. But out of all the Dru Smith fans, the biggest one that I've seen is this guy Miles on Twitter, aka Dru Smith fan at Subwoofer2. And he put together this thread of why he likes Dru Smith. And as a guy, who considers myself to be open-minded, I like to hear other perspectives, I figured we could go through his thread together and see if he could convince us that Dru Smith is actually a good basketball player. So in this first tweet, he says, seeing a lot of people trash Dru Smith and say he doesn't deserve a two-way, so let us be reminded what the curly mamba does for Heat culture. Miles, you know what you're doing here, brother. The curly mamba is nasty work. It's also kind of funny, I guess. But let's go to the first tweet here. You guys can see the highlights in the background that he's describing. He says, suffocating on D. Hey, yo. Miles, chill. This is a family show, Miles. What you talking about, man? But continuing, resume. He says, suffocating on D. Dru Smith is excellent at intercepting passing lanes, averaging a steal per game despite only playing 15 minutes. He boasts a stellar 109 defensive rating. That's the 4th best on the Miami Heat, and does all of this while locking up the opposing team's best guards. Well, first of all, it's hard for me to contextualize 109 defensive rating. He tries doing that by saying it's the 4th best on the Heat, which in theory sounds good when you have guys like Jimmy, Bam, and Haywood. But again, Dru Smith is only playing 15 minutes a night. So that sample size is way too small to make really any of these statistics legitimate. And on top of that, saying that he locks up the opposing team's best guards, that's a huge stretch there, Miles. A huge stretch. But let's go on to number 2. I'm not going to completely rule out this thread yet, where Miles says, positional versatility / hustle. Dru's flexibility and hustle is a coach's dream, being a Swiss Army knife to guard both guard positions. He's able to meet both guards and centers at the rim, getting a block or turnover to transition 3 or foul. Is he calling Dru Smith a switchable defender? Because that's even more nasty work than the Curly Mamba. He calls him a Swiss Army knife. You know who's a Swiss Army knife? That boy Pelle Larsson, aka the Swedish Army knife. You like that? I just came up with that nickname. I think it's kind of fire. Swedish Army knife. Anyways, Dru Smith is nowhere close to a versatile defender nor a Swiss Army knife. You're doing some nasty work here, Miles. Although in the highlights he looks fine, but sure, you found some highlights of him doing different plays. You could do that for any NBA player, but let's go on to clip number 3 here, in which he has a wet emoji. Oh, good God. He says 3-point shooting. In 2024, he shot from behind the arc at a 41% clip on .45 3 PAR. I tried looking that up. I couldn't find what that is. But anyways, he says showcasing his role as a floor spacer with non-shooters and Jimmy and Bam. Look how he brings the ball up the floor or moves to open space for the catch and shoot. Okay, first of all, I looked up Dru Smith's stats. He shot less than 2 threes per game. So once again, that 41% is irrelevant to me. And I'm pretty sure Jimmy Butler was close to 40%, if not over, on way more attempts. So how you gonna say Jimmy Butler's a non-spacer, but then call Dru Smith a spacer? That's nasty work, Miles, which is the theme of this thread. But I digress. Let's go on to number 4 or 5, which he says scoring, posting a field goal north of 45%, 6th best on the team, and a true shooting of 57%, 7th best on the team. Dru Smith maximizes his scoring opportunities, able to provide high-value buckets and limited playing time. He can get to the rack, pull back for the smooth midi, or even draw a foul. Once again, just because you got highlights of him playing and getting different types of scores doesn't mean he's good at those. It means he did it once in his career and they happen to have a video of it. If you watch Dru Smith at all last season, and yes, the limited playing time that it was, he does not pass the eye test. There's nothing that he does that stands out at you. He's just kind of there. And as a Heat team that's trying to win a championship, if Dru Smith is your 15th guy on the bench and you want a guy you can insert to just not mess things up, fine, I guess, if you have no other choice. But this Heat team has other choices. That's the whole point of this video. Isaiah Stevens brings you something of value. Dru Smith does what? Shoot 6th best field goal percentage on the team in 15 minutes a night, only playing 9 games? Come on, bro. Lastly here, we got playmaking. Albeit Dru Smith only averaged 3 assists per game when he played over 20 minutes a game. While having an advanced stats of 15% assist percentage, 10th best turnover percentage, these numbers are irrelevant to me. And he finishes it off by saying his ability to run the floor off the bench efficiently is on clear display in the film. Okay, you being deceitful here, Miles. Come on, bro. Because Dru Smith averaged less than 2 assists last year. And you say he averaged only 3 in games he played over 20 minutes, which was only 4 games. He only played 4 games over 20 minutes. And you using a 4-game sample size to tell me that Dru Smith is a facilitator? Let's move on to the finals here. He says, all in all, the Curly Mamba will... No, 3-and-D monster. I'm not reading the rest of this thread. What is more disgusting? Calling Dru Smith Curly Mamba, 3-and-D monster, Swiss Army knife, floor spacer, elite floor general. That is disgusting. I got more mad reading this thread than I was before, and I entirely regret doing it. And if y'all are tuning into this video, I'm sorry. I owe you one. I made you sit through that, and I'm sorry. I mean, all that being said, if the Heat want to keep him through October and then cut him and get Isaiah Stevens, like I predict will happen, then I'm fine with that. I'm cool, whatever. Now, people are mad because they say Alondes Williams or Cole Swider might get poached, and that's true, and I do like both those players, but to be honest, I don't really see a role for either one of those guys on this team anytime soon. So at least if they get poached or go on another team, they will get the playing opportunity that they deserve, because I do think those are good enough players to at least start getting a little bit of NBA rotation and seeing where they grow. Hopefully they do, because both those guys are 25, and for Summer League, that's pretty ancient. I don't know. I can't see a couple of 26-year-olds running around in Summer League next year. It's like at some point, those guys are either NBA players or they're not. So this might be the last chance for Alondes or Swider to really get on a team, and I just don't see that role for them on this Heat team. So if they get poached, I look at it as something that's good for their careers, and I'll be very happy for both of them. But anyways, that's all I got to say for this video. So if you are a fan of Dru Smith, get the hell out my channel. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Stay here. I do appreciate all of you a ton. But if you like Dru Smith, let me know down below why. Did I miss something? What am I missing? You tell me. If you don't like Dru Smith, I'll read your comments too. Let me know if you want to get him, if you want his spot to get replaced by Alondes or Swider or Isaiah Stevens like the rest of us. I'll be reading all your comments, and I'm very curious to hear what y'all think. Make sure to like the video and subscribe, because all the support is greatly appreciated. And I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace out.
Look, pull up in your city trying to get that dead face. Do it on my own, I don't need no dead weight. Had to kill him off, yeah, I need a head space. You know this homegrown bitch don't offend me.